like to go ahead and call this meeting to order. Come on in, have a seat. Welcome, all part of the same community, and officially welcome everybody to the annual LPEA Electric Association 2022 annual meeting. I'd like to begin the meeting as we usually do with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you don't mind standing. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So the next order of business is for us to determine if we have a quorum. I'll turn to Graham Smith, LPEA's General Counsel, to make that declaration. Graham?
Thank you, John. According to Article 2, Section 4 of LPEA's bylaws, 50 members present at an annual meeting constitutes a quorum for conducting business. I have been informed by staff that we have more than 50 members present here tonight, so we have a quorum.
Excellent, thank you. So the next order of business is appointing an acting secretary and a parliamentarian for the meeting. I appoint LPEA's CEO, Jessica Matlock, as acting secretary. Jessica, do you accept the appointment?
Yes.
Thank you. And as parliamentarian, I appoint LPEA's General Counsel, Graham Smith. Graham, do you accept the appointment?
Yes.
Thank you. So next, I'm going to have the parliamentarian go over the official notice of the annual meeting and the standing rules and procedures.
Thank you. Pursuant to Article 2, Section 3 of LPEA's bylaws, a written or printed notice of this annual meeting stating the place, day, and hour of the meeting was sent to all members not less than 45 days, nor more than 10 days before this meeting. Therefore, this is the official meeting of the members for 2022. As for the standing rules, everyone has been provided with a copy of the standing rules on the back side of the agenda. For those of you who are attending in person, and for those of you who are attending virtually, there's a copy posted on the website. I did have a quick question as part of our Q&A that I'd like to address at this time. It was regarding the question and answers section of the standing rules, and why are we asking them to be submitted in writing? That is because we are accumulating all of these questions and answers and providing updates to the vast majority of them on our website for those members who can't attend the meeting, so it allows staff to manage and retain those questions for future use for the general membership on the website. So that having been said, could I have a motion to approve the standing rules? Kirsten, do I have a second? Second, okay. At this point, all in favor of adopting these standing rules, please say aye. All in favor, please say no. All opposed, please say no. Sorry. All right, the standing rules are adopted. That's all I have, President Witchell, regarding the notice and the standing rules.
Great, thank you, Graham. The agenda for this meeting was posted at the LPEA website on April 20th, more than 10 days before the scheduled time of this meeting. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda? And a second? Thank you. Any discussion? Great. All in favor, hold their hand up, say aye. All opposed? All abstain? Motion carries. Also posted to the agenda was a copy of the 2021 annual meeting minutes. Can I get a motion to dispense with reading the minutes and to approve them? Second, please. Thank you. All in favor? All opposed? All abstain? Thank you. Motion carries. Okay. So before we get started on the presentation portion of the meeting, I wanted to confirm that we will have a Q&A session at the conclusion of the presentations. For those here live, you can submit your questions at the Q&A table by the registration desk or by emailing them to comments@lpea.coop. That's comments at lpea.coop. For those on Zoom, we are not accepting questions through Zoom portal, so please email your questions to comments@lpea.coop. We're going to start the presentation portion of the meeting with a short video highlighting a few of the LPEA's accomplishments in 2021. So kudos to the LPEA Visual Communications Specialist, Jenny Taylor, for putting this all together. If you have any issues seeing it over Zoom today, the video is also posted on LPEA's YouTube channel for later viewing.
We had a big old house, sports car in the drive, fishing boat down in the shop, not bad for a family of five. I'd come home late just to leave again. The lineman that she married was just a stranger in the wind.
2021 was a pivotal year for LPEA as we made excellent progress in achieving the new, affordable, reliable, safe, and low carbon power. Much of our focus in 2021 was centered on the future of LPEA's power supply. Thanks to the efforts of staff and positive negotiations with the current power provider, Tri-State, we made steady progress in the partial contract option. We also took some large strides in broadband in 2021, with the board adopting a resolution to enable broadband connections to LPEA members.
One of LPEA's priority areas for the next 5 years is to source clean, local, low-cost power. We made a lot of progress on this front in 2021, which should lead to the finalization of new power supply contracts in the next few years. This could save LPEA and our members millions of dollars per year and reduce our carbon footprint by 50%. That's a 750 million pound reduction in CO2 per year, which is equivalent to removing more than 71,000 vehicles from the road annually. We also collaboratively negotiated a 4% wholesale rate reduction from Tri-State and retired 1.5 million capital credits to our members in 2021 to pass along the first half of this reduction. On the local generation side, 2021 also broke all solar installation records. We added 2,100 kilowatts of new local generation in 271 locations.
In 2021, the IT department continued to develop technical programs and services for the rest of the cooperative. So for example, we worked hard to ensure that our maps are accurate and readily available for our crews. LPEA has an excellent track record when it comes to cyber threats, and we look forward to continually improving our methods for protecting our member data and systems that provide reliable electricity. We all know that cyber threats never take a break, and we're really proud of the team for rising to the challenge and taking on the bad actors from around the world.
Keeping the lights on is a constant battle, but with safe working practices, capital improvements, and an intense maintenance schedule, we continue to increase the reliability and the integrity of the electrical system.
In 2021, we upgraded over 10 miles of power line and replaced over 50 failing power poles. We implemented the use of drone technology to assist in our maintenance program. They find issues that one cannot see from the ground, invest and improve our fire mitigation and maintenance efforts.
We also endured some major winter storms. We ended up restoring power to over 27,000 members in just the span of a few days.
No matter the weather, no matter the time of day, we are always here to keep the lights on.
So as a part of LPEA's efforts to be a trusted community partner, we were really excited in 2021 to start doing some more in-person events and in-person engagements with our members, and hope to be able to do more of that in the future as the effects of COVID-19 wane somewhat. We participated in our annual Pagosa Golf Tournament, charity tournament.
We also participated in the Durango LaPlata County Fair. We were in the Home and Ranch Show. We did our annual food drive. So we did really as much as we could do to still be a part of the community, to give back and to do what we could to make our communities a better place to be. In addition, we continued our grant and scholarship programs as we do every year. And in 2021, between those two, our grant and our scholarship programs, we contributed more than $245,000 back into the community. And through our joint rebate program with Tri-State, we were able to refund members almost $500,000 in 2021 for their purchase of electrical equipment. And that was almost a 50% increase from the year before. So we look forward to continuing these efforts into next year.
One of the points of LPEA's North Star is to maintain strong financial health. And we want to do this while maintaining that our electric rates are cheaper than 70% of our Colorado cooperative peers. We did this successfully in 2021. While doing so, we also kept our controllable costs at their lowest level for 5 years. Another thing that we did while maintaining strong financial health is return $5.5 million in capital credits to you, the members, the highest total of capital credit retirements in LPEA's history.
I want to tell you about some of the exciting and innovative projects that Flood Electric has been doing to prepare itself to be the utility of the future. With some grants from the state of Colorado, we've been able to install 2 more electric vehicle charging stations, one at the Purgatory and one over at the Durango Transit Center. These 2 joined the one that was previously installed over in Pagosa Springs to give us now a total of 3 charging DC fast charging stations in our service territory. This completes LPEA's portion of the Colorado Fast Charging Corridor project they have been working on for the last several years. If you see a school bus with some green logoing along the bottom of it, that's an indication you're looking at the newest fleet addition to Durango's 9R school district's bus fleet. This is actually the first vehicle-to-grid electric school bus for all of Colorado. We did this project in collaboration with 9R School District and with a grant from the Charge Ahead program with the state of Colorado.
I want to thank LPEA's board and our employees and our partners for their efforts and support in continuously improving LPEA for the benefit of our communities. I also want to thank our members and our community for staying engaged with us in 2021. We look forward to another banner year in 2022. Thank you.
That was awesome. Thank you. I also want to give a quick shout out to Jerry Sutherland, who did the music for that. So thank you. All right. So thanks again for the whole staff for putting that together and taking the time. Those videos are a lot of work. Now we'll start the presentation portion of the event with the board president's report. When I look back on 2021, the thing that I feel more than anything else is gratitude. Gratitude, not just for the LPEA board and staff, but also gratitude for our community. It's been a very, very challenging couple of years for all of us. And to see this community pull together and work hard and grow has been truly heartening. And now we're coming out in 2022 even stronger and better with some new ideas and new opportunities. I'm very excited about what the future holds for both LPEA and the communities that we serve. Operationally, the LPEA Board of Directors and related board committees continue to meet monthly in 2021 to conduct the business of the cooperative. We also hosted 2 virtual town hall meetings in October with more than 500 registrants to discuss LPEA's power supply options. Beyond our usual meetings, the board also said goodbye to retiring Director Britt Bassett in 2021 and welcomed new director Ted Compton to District 3. We also welcomed Kirsten Skian, Kohler McGinnis, and Tim Wheeler, who were all re-elected to serve their respective districts for another 3-year term. We usually have a section in the annual meeting reserved to announce the results of the annual director elections, but in 2022, for the first time since 2004, the board canceled director elections for all 4 incumbents ran unopposed. I would like to congratulate Holly Metzler, Dan Huntington, and Joe Lewandowski for their re-election this year, I was also reelected, which is why you're stuck with me leading this meeting. For the power supply front, thanks to the efforts of staff and positive negotiations for our current power provider, Tri-State, we made steady progress on the partial contract option in 2021. This progress should lead to the finalization of new power supply contracts in 2022, which could save LPEA and our members millions per year and reduce our carbon footprint by 50%. That's a 750 million pound reduction in CO2 per year, equivalent to removing more than 71,000 vehicles from the road annually. LPEA staff were also able to negotiate a 4% reduction from Tri-State, the first half of which the board voted to return the members in a special 1.5 million capital credit retirement last year. Dan Horns and Tri-State Reg Rudolph will speak more about the power supply topic in their upcoming presentation, so stand by. In 2021, we also took some large strides in broadband, passing a resolution to pursue a funding and partnership strategy that will enable broadband connections to our members by 2030 without raising rates. With this goal, LPEA is not investing any funds beyond those already approved for the operation of our electric grid. LPEA was already planning to install 250 miles of fiber for reliability and safety reasons over the next 5 years that can now also act as interstate for local broadband traffic. With this clear direction and through a combination of partnerships that capitalize on state and federal grant dollars, LPEA's investment can now be multiplied several times over to benefit our communities. After a thorough process of examining our options and the impacts of those options, the LPEA board is excited to have a clear path forward on broadband. I want to thank our members for their active and enthusiastic participation in this process to date. This will prove a boon to our economy, to our community, and a solid broadband network is a strong economic driver. I will now pass the floor to Jessica to highlight more of the operational achievements in 2021.
All right, thank you, John. So in 2020, we built a roadmap, which you see up on the screen, and it's LPEA's North Star. And this was our 5-year operational plan. Now on that operational plan, it identified 6 priority areas to guide us in 2025. So the video that you saw earlier highlighted several of the accomplishments that we made, but I'm going to articulate a few others that we accomplished in 2021. So I'd like to call out a few others in my short presentation today. This is the first one. And just to let you know, as a reminder, that these accomplishments are laid out in our 2021 annual report, which you could have gotten a copy up front, or it's also on our website. So if you want to learn more, go to our website. And it's in the strategic planning area. So for the area of Be Safe and Excellent All We Do, we had 0 union grievances, 2 employee engagement surveys that we conducted, and 25 substations with increased security. For keeping the lights on, yes. And just a little bit more on the security. I think most people know, as you heard Drew talk about cybersecurity, physical security is just as important for us. And so that's why putting up increased security at substations is important, because we have to monitor who's around those substations. If someone were to take out a substation, we'd obviously have a problem with the lights going out. So we take that just as seriously. So that's why cameras on those substations are extremely important. So for keeping the lights on, we removed around 31 trees that were on our lines in December. So if you have your lights out, or if your lights are flickering, that's the reason, is because a lot of our service territory has big trees. And when there's trees near your lines, let us know, first of all, if you are interested in having someone come out and look at that. But that's one of the reasons for most of the outages. And with these winds starting, we're going to have more tree limbs falling on these lines. Also, 10 miles of line and 50 failing poles were replaced. Thanks to our crews, we have some of the best crews I've ever encountered in the energy business. I've been doing this for over 20 years. They're dedicated, they're amazing, and they're fast. And so that is really an accomplishment when they're replacing that. And we also had drones flying 200 miles of lines. So some of in that video that you saw were those drones. And that's really helped us look at areas that are really hard to find because many of our power lines are in places where you can't get cars or trucks. So having the drones fly through those and look for areas is extremely important, especially in the fire mitigation area. Because a lot of times we can find failing equipment on these lines that could spark, and we're replacing those as quickly as we can. So we're being proactive on this. So next, source clean, local, low-cost power. So this last year, we installed over 2,100 kilowatts of rooftop solar. So that's over 271 locations. So more and more people are interested in this, and we're trying to accommodate this. We also secured the 4% wholesale rate reduction from Tri-State. We're happy to have Tri-State partners here tonight. We've got some others in the room that partnered with us on getting that. So we wanted to thank you for that, Reg, and your team. And as a result, as was mentioned on the video, we did a special capital credit retirement of $1.5 million last year. So Dan and Reg will talk more on this slide in their upcoming presentation, so I'll keep moving on. The next is be a trusted community partner. So we're really excited about this one because we have many of our recipients here tonight that we will celebrate, but we awarded over $243,000 in scholarships, grants, and sponsorships. Now, that's really important to us because we're having a really hard time hiring people here. We're having hard time with line workers. And in fact, if anyone wants to be a line worker, let us know. We're desperately looking for those jobs. And also we have a lot of engineers and other workers at the company that are mechanics and mathematical. And so this is why we're so excited for all you students here and where you're going in life. We're really proud of you and we want to support you. And we really want you to come back and work for LPEA. We're also really proud of our community. That's the strength of a co-op. We live in this community. Our kids go to this community, our neighbors, our members, our families. And so we gave over $20,000 to Rise Against Violence last year. And yes. And we had our employees volunteer to go collect over 6,000 pounds of food to local food banks. And that's just some of the things we do. We have other board members like Kohler, I know, goes out and spends his personal time doing the same thing. So we wanted to thank the board and our employees for doing this awesome work. We also conducted LPEA's biannual membership satisfaction survey. And if you'd like to see the data on that, go to our website. It's pretty interesting looking at the demographics and where people are moving and what they're interested in. So I would encourage folks to look at that. Okay, maintain strong financial health. You heard of some of what Carl said on the video, but we had a great year in this regard. Monica, over to my right, is going to give more in her presentation, so I won't steal her thunder. But I would like to highlight that we worked really hard this year. We've taken the last couple years to look at all of our processes. I think COVID gave us an opportunity to think through how to stop doing everything with paper and to do more digital and to improve our processes. And so that helped us be more fiscally responsible to our members. And the numbers that Monica will share are a testament to that. So we're excited for that one. Okay, the last one I'll talk about is prepare for the future. So as you've seen in the back, we have a lot of products that there's rebates on. And so we've issued over $490,000 in rebates to members. And again, that was in partnership with Tri-State. So Reg and your team, thanks for that partnership. That's an almost 50% increase from 2020. So we just want to encourage members to go look at the products back there. There's rebates. Even for the items back there, there's others on our website that you can look at as well. We also completed LPEA's section of the Colorado Clean Energy Corridor. That's what Dan mentioned in regards to charging stations. And then we installed Colorado's first ever vehicle to grid electric school bus that you also saw. A really important component of that though is resiliency. So we're thinking in our areas, you've seen with Texas and California, resilient energy networks are super important. And so there's new technologies out there where you can even take the school bus and the battery. And in the future, what they're thinking is that if there's an emergency shelter, let's say we have another big fire and we have to create emergency shelters, well, we need to power those up. Let's say the grid is down because the poles were burnt up. Well, these buses can go to a station and hook up and be used as a battery to power those emergency shelters. We're thinking of the future of this. And so we don't want to become a Texas and California. We want to maintain the lights for everybody at all times. So we're testing this out. Tri-State's also another partner on that. We're excited about it. And we're excited about expanding that. And that gets to Dan and Reg. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for coming out tonight and joining us today. And my name is Dan Harms. I'm going to be covering some of the power supply aspects we've been hitting on a little bit here. And so, the next slide there. The premise behind all of our focus on power supply over the last several years has been based on a three-pronged approach that our board set forth in front of us as a goal and objective. And the first prong of this three-pronged approach was to see if there's ways to work with Tri-State under the existing contract to create more flexibility in what we already have that's out there. And there were committees that were set up. All the cooperatives joined those committees, try to come up with ways to give us more flexibility. One of the things that came out of those committee engagements was the ability to add an additional 2 megawatts of community solar to our service territory. And so we're proud to announce that yes, that is something we want to move forward with, and looking forward to implementing that in 2022. Then the second prong that we are pursuing is what we're calling a partial contract. That would be like diversification, using 50% of our power being supplied by Tri-State, maybe looking for another 50% from another power provider. And so that is one of the options that we've been pursuing and putting a lot of effort into lately. You probably heard a lot of the news on that, and we're proud to announce that has been moving forward very successfully. And so I'll talk a little bit more about that here in just a little bit. And then the third prong that we've been pursuing would be a full exit from Tri-State. That one is not one we're actively engaged with. We're not actively pursuing right now, but still being very engaged with. It is still an ongoing effort up to FERC. A lot of cases, a lot of the litigation is going on up there. So we've been following that as close as we can to see if that is an opportunity for us in the future. And something else I should mention is that with the second prong of the partial contract, although that's something we're pursuing, it is not taken off the table a full exit. That is still something that we could pursue possibly in the future if that was an option for us to look at. And so here's some of the highlights that we're able to accomplish in 2021. First was be able to successfully negotiate that buy down payment with Tri-State for a partial contract. The buy down payment is an agreed upon exit fee for us to leave Tri-State with half of that load and to come to terms on that, and feel like we came to good terms on that, and looking forward to what that can enable us to do here in the future. We also created and completed the financial modeling of what all this might look like. We wanted to be very careful and look at all the different options, make sure we looked under every rock for any possible cost that was associated with doing this kind of thing and what potential savings we could have. And as Jessica and John have mentioned earlier, we do feel like there's significant savings to be had in the future from doing this. And as a result of that, we went out for a RFP, or a request for proposals. And in doing that, we were looking for 70. There it goes, still there. Power up. So LPEA's total load is about 142 megawatts. And so what this chart is demonstrating here is that with the partial requirements, we have the ability to look for 71 megawatts from somebody else and 71 from Tri-State. So through that request for proposals, we did decide to partner with a group called Crossover Energy Partners, who will be putting together a power portfolio for us that has a high content of renewable, but yet is a firm portfolio that provides us the power we need when we need it. Then the last thing that I'll mention here is that we are very much on track to meet our carbon goals and objectives that we have set forth. As you may be familiar with, LPEA did set a goal in 2018 that we would cut our carbon emissions that they were from the levels that they were in 2018 by 50% by the year 2030. We are hoping that through this partial contract agreement that we can achieve that many years earlier, even as possibly as early as 2024. So looking forward to that. And that concludes what I have on the power supply highlights. And I'll pass it over to Reg now to fill you in with more details.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks for the opportunity to be here at the LPEA Annual Meeting. So I just want to give a little background about Tri-State G&T. It's been mentioned a lot. We're a partner with LPEA on power supply. We are also a cooperative that we're owned and governed by our 42 cooperative utility members. I'd like to recognize Kohler McGinnis, who also serves on the Tri-State board, as well as Jessica, are both very active in helping set those governance decisions and leading to those things like the 4% rate decrease that has been implemented over the last couple of years. So it's great to have that LPEA leadership with us up at Tri-State. And Dan had mentioned about the responsible energy plan and some of the goals that LPEA has set forth. We've implemented a responsible energy plan in 2019 at Tri-State to be at 50% renewable by 2024 and to be at 70+ renewable by 2030. So Tri-State is very actively engaged and leading in the transition of cooperatives across the United States. And it's driven specifically by the value of the cooperative business model. Now, some of the consistent messages that you hear from LPEA are also very important to Tri-State at the power supply level. And we have 4 core priorities, but they all tie together. And that's very consistent across the cooperative utility industry. Is number 1, we need to provide reliable power. 2, it needs to be affordable. And the last 2 are flexible and responsible. And it's really important to talk about reliability, because none of the other things are important unless you have reliability. In February 21, we were able to, throughout the cooperative, Tri-State cooperative family, we were able to keep the power on without incurring any major costs like several other regional utilities did. Just heard a report that Texas customers in February of 21 will pay between $50 to $75 per month for the next 28 years because of what happened in one day in Texas. So we're very well situated at Tri-State to make sure that that doesn't happen here. Affordability is the board's second priority at Tri-State. And in 2021, we reached consensus to reduce wholesale rates by 4%. It's not often in business today, and especially in the environment we're in today, to have an organization that's reducing rates. Dan mentioned it, Jessica mentioned it, John mentioned it about flexibility of power supply, and that's become increasingly more important with our members, and specifically with members like LPEA that want to do different things than the rest of the membership at Tri-State. And as a cooperative family, our members have worked together to develop that flexible contract structure, which has been beneficial for LPEA. In the world that we live in today in the power supply, the grid is no longer a one-way street, and optimizing the distribution and transmission grid is going to require a more holistic strategy, which is going to require coordination of supply and demand. The cooperative business model will succeed in this new energy environment as we move forward because we're based on service, not profit. Specifically, what we're doing is we're trying to focus on the entrepreneurial spirit that cooperatives were formed on to drive innovation that benefits rural consumers and industries in our service territories. One of the roles that I have at Tri-State is developing energy services that deliver additional value and optimize the interactions between the power supply and the distribution co-op for the benefit of the end use consumer. So there are a lot of moving pieces that go into this equation that we're trying to balance. And with 42 members spread across 4 states from Nebraska to Wyoming, Colorado, and New Mexico, as you can imagine, there's a lot of diversity of opinion. But that's one of the strengths of the cooperative business model that leads to the value proposition of the product that we provide. So I think together as a cooperative, we're making real progress and working on this ongoing transition that will position us to better serve our members and all of you for the 21st century. As a cooperative, we're stronger together. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Monica Rodriguez. I'm the controller here at LPEA Electric. Our VP of Finance, Carl Ramsey, is normally the voice behind our department, and I stay behind the scenes. However, he's under the weather, so you get me tonight. So with that, let's jump into our 2021 financial review and highlights. The key role of the finance department is to safeguard the members' assets. We have created a sustainable model that has kept our rates lower than 70% of our co-op peers. We lowered our operating costs in 2020 by $1 million and continue to maintain those numbers. 2 things we're very proud of. We returned $5.5 million in capital credits to our members and invested $11 million in our electrical infrastructure. We reduced our debt, reduced our expenses, and returned more money back to our members. Our electrical infrastructure is the backbone of LPEA. With a combination of capital projects and scheduled maintenance, we continue to improve the reliability and redundancy of our system. This year, we are able to keep more work in-house and reduce the use of outside contractors. Our investment in our infrastructure was fully financed internally without borrowing any funds. As I mentioned earlier, $5.5 million in capital credits were returned to our members. This is the highest retirement in LPEA history. Controlling costs has been the key driver for our strong financials. We will continue to adhere to the success of our financial model well into the future. The goal and mission of LPEA continues to steer us in the right direction. This slide breaks out the categories of how our revenue is derived and how our expenses are how we expense our funds. The majority of our revenue is coming from residential and commercial sales, and the largest expense being the cost of power. And this slide breaks out, as you can see, 62 cents of your dollar goes to the cost of power. If you want to take a closer look at these last 2 slides, that can be found in your LPEA 2021 annual report. And thank you. I'll hand that back over to Jessica. We'll tell Carl that he's replaced by you. Thanks, Monica. Okay, now is the time to give out the scholarship awards. So it's going to be my absolute pleasure to kick this off for our 2022 scholarship recipients. As some of you may know, LPEA offers scholarships to graduating high school seniors and GED graduates each year to help them pursue their dreams. It is so important in the future, as I mentioned earlier, in our community that us employers help support these kids in our communities. And we want skilled and educated workforce, especially in STEM and our linemen. So just remember that about line workers too. We're really looking for some. This year, LPA awarded over $100,000 in scholarships to 9 local high school seniors, and recipients were selected based on a merit by a local committee. Most of these scholarships are funded by LPA's unclaimed capital credit funds, but Tri-State, thanks again, and Basin Electric also provided a few scholarships, and those are funded by those organizations. So kudos to them for their support of education in our area. I would also like to welcome the recipients to now join me up here on stage. And so I will go through and call your name. So once we do that, I'll have you come up, we'll take a picture, and then our board president will give you the certificate and the goodie bag. So ready? Okay, now we're safety conscious here, so please be careful to step when you walk up, okay? All right, so I'd like to welcome the recipients to join me here when I call your name. So 2021 Tri-State G&T Scholarship, which offers $500 for any school, goes to Grace Martinez from Durango High School, and she's going to study electrical engineering at Colorado School of Mines. Congratulations. We hire a lot of engineers too, Grace. Okay, Nell Taylor from Pagosa Springs High School was also awarded the Tri-State G&T Scholarship, who plans to study biochemistry at Colorado State University. However, Nell could not join us today, but we congratulate her anyways. Okay, the 2021 Basin Electric Cooperative Scholarship offers $1,000 for any school, and this goes to Thomas Pope from Durango High School to study chemistry at the University of Texas at Austin. Okay, the 2021 John Volker Memorial Scholarship offers $10,000 at any vocational or technical school. And that goes to Timothy Hiddle from Pagosa Springs High School, who plans to study business at Colorado Mesa University. Congratulations. And Jeremy Roderick, sorry, the E got me there, from Ignacio High School, who plans to study fire science at Iowa Central Community College. Okay, the 2021 LPEA Lineman Scholarship, which offers $12,000 for line school, goes to Ryan Elliott from San Juan Mountain School to study at Colorado Mesa University. Okay, and Dutch Rebels from Big Picture High School, who plans to study at Western Colorado Community College. And that's also for the LPEA Lineman Scholarship. So congratulations. We got 2 linemen coming back, right? Okay, and the 2021 LPA Scholarship, which provides $28,000 at any university or college, goes to Grace Holst from Durango High School, who plans to study engineering at George Washington University. Wow. Woo. And Nicholas Huber from Durango High School, who plans to study engineering at Colorado School of Mines. Okay, scholarship as well. And that is it. So we've been offering these scholarships for decades, and we're really proud to have these students win. So let's give them another round of applause. And now I'm back to you, John.
Okay, so thank you. And we will go ahead and open the Q&A section of the presentation. This is our final point of our final point of business before the door prize. I have a list of submitted questions here, and we will tackle them one at a time. So the first one is from Samuel King. He writes, "Dear Co-op, I'm interested to know how the V2G energy transfer is going with the new bus, including the system you're using to make the transfer. I'm also wondering how this might impact our solar energy storage in the future. Are Co-op members going to be able to buy and store solar energy on our vehicles and use them at peak rate, plus sell surplus back during peak to the grid? This guidance may impact This guidance may impact to vehicle make and battery size of a future electric vehicle." Signed, Sam King. I think that's you.
Yes, I'll take that one. Thank you, Sam. For those that may not be familiar with some of the terminology that was used in this email, if you hear V to G, that means vehicle to grid. That means that it's the concept where, hey, you've got a battery already in a vehicle. Why not use that for other purposes inside your house if you can? And so we're doing just that with the electric school bus. It's not very commonplace for vehicles to have that kind of technology built into them today. But when we purchased the electric school bus, we wanted to make sure that ability was there. And so what that allows us to do is for the utility to have control on that and discharge that back to the grid during periods of peak time. And when we can do that, that's a value to all of us. And so we want to set up programs and develop policies that allow members to help the utility, help all of us keep our electric rates down. And so if you've got the electric vehicle there already, why not use it, have it be multiple purpose, and we can help fund some of that through rebates and through special incentives. We don't have those programs quite in place yet. There's not a whole lot of the vehicle to grid capability on the vehicles that are coming out there today. But as Sam was mentioning, that might persuade people to purchase one vehicle over the other if we did offer those kind of programs. It is something we're looking for. We want to be able to tie that into our system. In order for that to be successful, the utility has to have control because it's a very precise time on when we want to discharge assets such as that. And in working with Tri-State to try to come up with the right timing, we can all benefit from such a thing. Just looking at whatever other questions were maybe asked here, whether you can use that at peak rates, discharge it at peak rates and sell the surplus back to the grid. That would be the idea. Instead of the customer looking for that peak time, like I said, it's important that the utility actually has the control, because it's not going to happen at the same time every day. And so we have to make sure that we work through the members on a voluntary basis to do some things like that. So I think that more or less covers it.
Yeah, great, thank you. So the next question, this is from somebody in the room. It says, is LPEA equipped to build more rooftop? Is LPEA equipped to handle more rooftop solar on individual and commercial buildings? Congratulations, get another one.
Another one here. Yes, we have quite a bit of additional, and it's not a matter of capacity. If LPA has the capacity to be able to do that, is the load present to use the generation that comes off of solar panels. Obviously, solar is producing peak power during the day. And so as long as there's load during the day to use that energy, then it all works very well. Will come a time where the peak daytime generation may exceed our daytime load. And if it does, that's where energy storage becomes such a critical element at that time. So yes, there is the ability to do that today, especially in the commercial aspect, because if you think about commercial, they're open and running during the day. That pairs itself very nicely with solar energy. The home's got that little bit of an inversion on that kind of load profile, but still plenty of room to put that on there. And as we mentioned earlier, hundreds of systems were installed last year and they're still coming in.
Terrific, thank you. Okay, the next question is a two-part question. Question number one, how does the board represent the best interest of the LPA members? And part two is, how does the board participate in and or influence LPA decision-making? And I'm going to answer that one. So the LPA board operates like many boards, both commercial, nonprofits, and co-ops. We essentially, as a board, have one employee, that's Jessica, and then Jessica, then all the rest of the staff then reports up to Jessica. So we participate in strategic discussions actively, month over month, and over a very long period of time. We help provide feedback from the membership to the executive staff through Jessica about what we're hearing on the street, about what's important to the community. And then that usually manifests itself in the form of board resolutions or discussion or feedback or requests for more information. And like all boards, we participate in key discussions that are usually set by policy, key decisions that are set by policy, and very large purchases. So for example, the big one in the past year is, of course, the partial buyout. There were lots of different options. We took a very active role. All of us spent an enormous amount of time researching those options, figuring out how that could impact all the different constituents, because our constituent base is quite diverse. Ranchers, farmers have very different energy needs than students living in town. And so finding the balance that serves the membership as a whole is the best way to do that. And we try to represent the best interest of the members by basically showing up and doing the hard work and doing the research and doing our best to help participate in an informed and meaningful way. That's what I got. All right. Okay. Keep talking. I'm going to keep talking to myself. Okay, next question. What is the current plan for the money saved from Tri-State contract buyout? I vote for fire mitigation and infrastructure. Signed it, and this was signed by Brooke. Can't quite read the last name. So unfortunately, that goes to me again. What is the current plan for the money saved from Tri-State? The answer is TBD. It's really the short answer. There's a couple of good options, and we have some ideas, and we would love to hear your ideas through your representatives. But there is no decision at this time of what to do with that, and that savings comes there, some in the near term and some over a longer period of time. So it's not like somebody's showing up with a duffel bag of cash and we figure out how to divvy it out. So that's going to be a series of discussions and ultimately decided on by policy. Okay. And vote for fire mitigation. I think that I can speak for this entire community that fire mitigation is an incredibly important issue and high on everybody's mind, and everybody on the board is well aware of the importance of that. So thank you for that question. Next question. Next question. Any interest in a pilot program for LPA to subsidize residential solar battery storage, especially one where LPA can pull from batteries during peak? This is Alan Hawley, and it's back to you.
So pilot program, and I won't even use the word subsidize residential solar, because this is a program that can stand completely on its own. There are benefits that can be acquired through energy storage that those savings, I mean, think about it, we're a cooperative. We save money, or if you do something that saves us money, then that's something, that's savings that we can pass back to you and our members. And so if what we have envisioned is that for any controllable kilowatt, whether it comes from energy storage, it comes from discharging your vehicle to the grid, or strategically turning off load at the right time, water heater control, any number of things could be out there whereby a kilowatt is a kilowatt. And if anything can be saved at the right time, there's value to that. And so we want to develop programs on, regardless of where those kilowatts are coming from, that if we have active control on that through a voluntary basis, through you guys signing up through a program that we still want to develop, then there's value to that. And those are the kind of things that we want to, types of programs we want to get out there in the near future, so that we can incentivize that type of thing to go on. So yes, the short answer is yes, absolutely. Beyond pilot project, we are actively doing some of those things right now with the electric school bus and an exciting interactive water heater control system that we're doing at the Animas View Trailer Park currently right now. So exciting things, and definitely. Is the LPA equipped to handle more rooftops? Oh, that's the wrong one. There it is. In a pilot for LPA to subsidize residential solar battery storage. And so I don't like saying that. I don't think we have to use the word subsidize, because I think that can be captured through the value that can offer directly. Does that make sense? We want to apply and provide rebates and programs and offer our membership money to put those in. Is the bottom line. Yes, residential battery storage. Yep.
Terrific. Okay, let's push on. All right, next question. Our household is a member of LPA. It is registered in my wife's name. Therefore, she gets to vote in the LPA elections, and I never get to vote. We have very different politics. How does my non-vote, quote unquote, get tallied in the LPA elections? Graham, you can have it.
So, excellent question. Yes, joint membership is sort of a long-standing corporate governance issue in cooperatives of all sorts, right? So the way a cooperative works is as a nonprofit corporation, instead of having shares like a publicly traded corporation, we have memberships. And so each service membership is one voting membership. So for joint memberships, whether that is as a married couple, a civil union, a legal partnership, a corporation, anything like that, it still only gets one vote per service account. And that's just sort of the difference between cooperative nonprofit business law and general municipal or county or state or federal elections.
Delicately answered. Next question. Does LPA have a policy addressing the RFP process? Does that process address transparency? Is our current process is our current process of not publicly advertising RFPs consistent with good governance? Hit two.
Yes, so LPEA's longstanding policy, and this is as far back as in the corporate record as I can locate, is to solicit bids from pre-qualified contractors. So we have a pre-qualification process that people that are interested in receiving bid announcement information can contact the cooperative and go through the bid pre-qualification process and be invited to bid on things. This is, as I said, a long-standing policy that largely dates back to our original administration under the Rural Utility Service of the Department of Agriculture, who was our original lender, and they had specific contract solicitation requirements that we needed to comply with, but it remains good policy today because of the sophistication and frankly inherent danger that it comes with working in, near, or around LPEA electrical facilities. We need to make sure that whoever is invited to bid has the safety qualifications and training, knowledge, and expertise to be able to effectively perform these operations. That said, anyone who is interested in trying to get on that list is welcome to contact the cooperative, and staff will walk you through the pre-qualification application process and see if you meet our pre-qualification application standards and be invited to bid at our next competitive bid contract process.
Thank you. Recently, an RFP for community solar at a property recently acquired by LPEA and located near Sunnyside School was released. Was this RFP advertised? If so, where? Graham, that's a follow-on.
So that's the same answer. We've taken that out to our pre-qualified bidders. And I think Dan might be able to answer some of this as well, but the people who were invited to bid at that had cleared our pre-qualification process, and I'll let Dan take on some more of the details.
Yeah, I think you summed it up pretty well there, Graham. So we have a qualified installer program, solar installer program at LPEA Electric. We're automatically the people that we've had relationships with on the solar front as well, that we've discussed and feel confident in their expertise and abilities. We're also sent that. I've talked to some people afterwards that have contacted me. So if people are interested, we ask that they contact us. There's an email address, sunnysiderfp@lpea.coop, where people can request and engage us through that point.
The next question is about grid tie systems. So this is to you, Dan. Why do we get penalized with a peak power charge for, quote, infrastructure maintenance? Each grid tie vendor customer has expensive equipment which they have invested in, and it is equipment which also depreciates. The peak power charge is raised by monthly bill 25% above what it was, all for 1 hour per month.
Yeah, so the peak power charge has nothing necessarily to do to cover the equipment that you've installed in a house to put solar in. The peak power charge is to cover the expenses associated with our grid infrastructure. And whether you have solar on your roof or not, those members all still require LPEA facilities to serve them. Obviously, when the sun's not out, it's nighttime, those facilities are still required. And so there's more than just offsetting energy, the expenses LPEA had. Monica showed the graph up on the board earlier. Purchase power is a good portion of our expense. It's 62%. There's still a lot of other expense that sits out there. That's what the peak power charge helps to cover. And so we recently had a cost of service study performed this last year that absolutely solidified the need for that type of charge to be present. So that's why we have that's out there. And let's see if there's anything else. And if it raised your monthly bill 25%, please contact us. We have people on staff that can help you understand exactly how the rates work, and we can make recommendations. It should be not increasing, the typical average bill was no more than a 5% increase. So if they were seeing 25%, there are absolutely some things we can do to help mitigate that. The other option is our time of use program. Another rate option for all residential members that they can use. It does not have a peak power charge associated with it, but has on peak and off peak times associated with it. Because when we all use power, it makes a big difference on that timing. When our power is used during peak times, that's where, when we said 62% of our purchase power, of our expenses is purchase power, half of that has to do with when we use it. So that timing is a very critical, important part. And we're trying to send that messaging out to our members, once again, to help align and reduce all of our costs there. Yeah, please catch up with me. I'm glad to have a moment.
Not really answering the question. On the website, it says that peak power charge. I mean, I just got it off of my phone right now.
Yeah.
What I'm saying, the question is that all the grid tie systems, we have invested somewhere. And you would have recognized $50,000. Solar system, that still doesn't last, but it's like.
And that's up to each person that installs their own facilities to take on that burden. You know, that's not the responsibility of the rest of the membership. And so that's the decision that you've made. We're trying to cover the expenses that are associated with the facilities that are needed to serve the members.
So the purpose of this meeting is for an entire membership, and it's, we want to help you individually, but this is not the forum to deal with a particular individual item. So let's take that offline, and there are plenty of people here who are true experts in the question and get you the answer that you need. And let's go to the next question. So if we put in a solar system, can the electricity that it generates be used on two different residential electric bills?
Yeah, what that's referring to is the concept of aggregated net metering or virtual net metering. And we've been kicking around different options on how to modify and enhance our net metering policies. Right now we have, I'll flat out say, the most generous net metering policy anywhere in the state, maybe even it's very, very good. And so what this is asking is to go one step above and beyond where we are today, which is provide that incentive to move excess energy from one resident to another resident. That gets quite tricky when they're physically separated, and we aren't planning to allow that necessarily. But there's the concept of aggregated net metering, where if you had contiguous property, maybe two accounts on the same property, that is definitely something we're evaluating right now, where you can move that credit from property or from house A to house B on the same property.
Terrific, thank you. Okay, now for the fun part. Everyone who is present and in person today should have been given a raffle ticket, and I will now draw 5 tickets. If your number is drawn, you can collect your prize at the door. It's super fair here. Yeah, but I can't read it. So, no, I got it.
You gotta read which prize it's for, John.
Oh, thank you. You're right. The winner of the electric leaf blower is number 0192019. 19. The winner of the electric weed whacker is number 192069. That's the weed. Winner of the electric branch and limb trimmer is 0192060. Yes, there we go. Thank you. The winner of the electric hedge trimmer is 0192057. Anyone? There we go. Thank you. The grand prize winner of the electric power chainsaw is 0192056. So much for joining us. This meeting is officially adjourned.